Ambassador, many European Union officials, as well as member states, have stated that not reaching a consensus for start of accession talks with Skopje and Tirana was a big historical mistake. But these kind of talks have not been heard from The Hague or some similar formulations. Does it mean that the Dutch government thinks that decision to have no decision was a justified one?
When 28 sovereign democratic states are unable at one gathering to reach a conclusion, I don't think it makes any sense to talk about historical mistakes. It is at most a historical fact. But it shouldn't also be made, in our view, into high drama. It is a disappointment, and I understand the disappointment. It is also a disappointment for us, because we see room for North Macedonia to start the talks. But it is not a drama, it is more, in our view, a bump in the road. We are in a process, we are in a long process of moving this country closer to the European Union, and at some point into it. And that was our position, and that is our position, and that will be our position. The EU membership perspective is alive and well, and what is important now, that the process of bringing North Macedonia closer should not be interrupted. There's still a lot to do. And also after the accession negotiations have started, there is still a lot to do.
Is the Dutch government familiar with the initiative from other member states, let's say like Italy, to put the issue of enlargement, starting of accession talks with North Macedonia and Albania as soon as possible on the agenda of European Union Council?
Again, you have to ask yourself how prudent it is to make one date into a highly symbolic date, as happened to the European Council in October. Yes, it will be on the agenda of the General Affairs Council next week, I think. But that is an inventory. It will be, I think, briefly discussed where we stand now. It is clear we need a new report from the Commission. The Commission is not yet operational. The hearings are still going on. So there will be, you cannot expect any new decision in the General Affairs Council. There will be an inventory, and the good thing is that it shows that the issue is alive, that member states are concerned about what's going to happen next. But again, there will be no decisions in this council.
Mm-hmm. What if in the future talks between EU member states, some of them still insist on making a joint decision for both of the countries? Will North Macedonia and its progress become, let's say, a victim to the disagreement among certain member states of Europe?
Well, it is very, very difficult to speculate on the negotiating positions of other member states. Our position is clear. And we have always said that we will assess the situation per country on its merits. And that is our prerogative. We have our own views on which steps candidates should take before they become members of the European Union, and that is what we've been saying. It is merit-based, it is strict and fair, and at this point that assessment leads us to a position where we see possibilities for North Macedonia to start the negotiations, and we don't see those possibilities yet for Albania. If others want to couple these issues, then I cannot speculate on that, but I think it would be unwise to start not judging countries on their own merits, and we are judging countries on their own merits.
When the Netherlands mentions the importance of adopting a new law on public prosecution, what exactly do you refer to, having in mind that the Special Prosecutor's Office cases have been transferred to the regular prosecution? And also when we discuss about the rule of law don't you think that it's far more urgent work to be done in the situation when judiciary, having in mind the law efficiency in the processes about the SPO cases, very few verdicts, too much time and postponing the trials, especially since the European Commission is at the beginning of this mandate was against deep cuts in this area?
We have now 26 years of diplomatic relations with this country, and during that time, we have always been busy in promoting the rule of law and transforming the judiciary. We have had projects, and we at the moment have projects that deal with young lawyers, with the fighting corruption, with the quality of the judiciary, with the quality of the penitentiary system, with the quality of youth detention. We are supporting the way the public prosecutor's office works. So this is a continuous field of attention for us, and it is important. But on the other hand, if North Macedonia wants to become a member of the EU, it will need to have its laws in order. Because, of course, it is very important that now existing cases will continue to be prosecuted. Nobody's above the law. And the people, it has to be made visible for the people that nobody is above the law. That there is a level playing field, that if you do wrong, you get prosecuted. But we also have to ensure that this will happen in future. So it's important that past cases will continue to be prosecuted, but also future ones. And for that, you need a law. How you do that is completely up to North Macedonia, right? Whether you need a new law or amend existing laws or make regulations that implement existing laws. But it has to happen, and at some point, certainly when you start accession talks to the EU, this has to be made in order. It has to be, and not only on paper, it has to be implemented on the ground. It has to work in practice.
So simply said, you want to see continuity in the SPO cases and their end.
We fully realize how difficult it is at the moment to come to a consensus on a new law. And we very much hope that now that there are early elections, that this process of modernization and reform, certainly in this area, will not stop, but will continue. But as I said, it is up to North Macedonia how it gets its house in order. But it has to get its house in order. And for that, there needs to be a guarantee also for the future that nobody is above the law.
On EU integration process again, have you, Dutch government, seen any of the proposals from France concerning the new accession methodology?
Well, we are of course in consultations with the French, but that is an internal matter. Yes, we think it is important that we look again at the methodology, and for us that means that we would like to see a process that is phased and reversible, and for us also there the focus will be on rule of law and fighting corruption.
Ambassador, recently Dutch Parliament ratified the accession protocol for North Macedonia for NATO membership. Why was Holland among the last states that has done this? And will Holland be so keen to lend its support for North Macedonia in EU terms?
Yeah, practically every treaty I get the same questions because we have a very long and complicated parliamentary procedure that does not say anything about how eager we are to enter into any given treaty. It just takes time. And we are always amongst the last. Am I happy about it? No, I would like to see those things move forward quicker, but as we've always said, there is not any problem on the merits of North Macedonia's NATO membership, and it has been approved now by the upper house of our parliament, and it has been voted through, and the instrument of the treaty will be deposited in Washington, I also think, next week. So done. And yes, we very much welcome North Macedonia as the 30th member of the NATO.
Does the Dutch government share the assessment of French President Emmanuel Macron that NATO is clinically dead and the European Union is on the edge of the abyss, as he said?
Well, you ask me if I believe the Earth is flat, right? The fact that the people who live in Europe are, for the last 70 years, amongst the richest, the healthiest, the longest living, and who have been living now for 70 years in peace, that is due to membership of NATO and membership of the European Union. And since the collapse of the Soviet Union, we are in a process of including not only Western Europe, where it existed, but the rest of Europe into these structures that will guarantee people's security and will guarantee people's prosperity. I think we are nearing the completion of that process, and that is why there, in our view, there is an absolute European perspective for this part of the world. And that is why I think that the day will come that North Macedonia will be a member of the European Union, as you are becoming now a member of NATO. That is the essence of the way we cooperate with each other since the Second World War. So I think both NATO and EU are essential for our well-being, for your well-being, and for your security and your prosperity.
Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you.